Geoffrey Kwatemba. Na leo hii mtazamaji, kwenye orodha ya shughuli za bunge, ningependa nikufahamisha kwamba kutakuwepo na kamati ya bunge nzima. Na tunapozungumzia kamati ya bunge nzima, kuna mswada wa sheria ya afya ya kujadili ama kidijitali kumradhi, ambao ni mswada wa bunge la taifa, mswada nambari 57 wa mwaka 2023. Mswada huu utakuwa vile unashughulikiwa katika bunge na kupitia kamati ya bunge nzima. Mswada huo unatoa nafasi ya kuanzishwa kwa mfumo wa telemedicine na mHealth, mfumo ambao unazungumzia haja ya ushirikiano kati ya mifumo ya afya. Vilevile katika kamati ya bunge nzima kuna mswada wa bima ya afya ya jamii, mswada nambari 58 wa mwaka 2023, ambao utakuwa unaongozwa na kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge, sio mwingine ila Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah Kimani. Na nikufahamisha kwamba mswada huu utakuwa unapendekeza kupanua bima ya afya kwa Wakenya wote kulingana na michango yao ya wanachama na chanjo inayofadhiliwa na serikali kwa maskini. Mtazamaji, kama unavyofuatilia kwa karibu, ningependa pia nikujulisha kwamba tunapozungumzia kamati ya bunge nzima, hili ni vizuri utambue kwamba kazi moja muhimu ya kamati ya bunge nzima ni kujadili na sio uchunguzi. Na hii inalinganishwa na kamati za kudumu ambazo zinaweza kuanzisha masomo au uchunguzi wa waziwazi katika bunge. Kamati ya bunge nzima inazingatia sana kuhusiana tu na maswali au miswada ambazo bunge linaweka kwa kamati ya bunge. Jukumu na mamlaka ya kamati ya bunge nzima ni pamoja na kuzingatia maswali au miswada inayorejeshwa kwake na bunge kwa kuzingatia maagizo yote yaliyopewa na bunge kupitia kwa spika. Kwingineko, kwenye orodha ya shughuli alasiri ya leo, kutakuwepo na mswada wa marekebisho ya pili kuhusu kuzuia na kudhibiti saratani. Huu ni mswada nambari 45 wa mwaka 2022 ambao unasomwa kwa mara ya pili. Mswada huu umeweza kuandaliwa na Mheshimiwa Abdul Daud ambaye ni mbunge wa Imendi Kusini. Nikufahamisha kwamba mswada huu unalenga kurekebisha kifungu cha 5 cha sheria kwa kupanua wigo wa majukumu ya taasisi ya afya na kutokana na matibabu ya ugonjwa wa saratani ili kujumuisha katika kuhamasisha matumizi ya afya.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tukuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeant, you may ring the bell.
Ni kufahamisha tu ya kwamba kutokana na jinsi ambavyo mambo yalivyo, spika wa bunge Mheshimiwa Daktari Moses Masika Wetangula ameamrisha kukirizwa kwa kengele ili kuweza kufuatilia kwa karibu wabunge ambao pengine walikuwa wameshikika katika vikao mbalimbali, mikutano mbalimbali, kuweza kuingia na vikao hivi kuanza rasmi, kumaanisha kwamba hakidi haijaweza kuafikiwa. Kutokana na kuamrishwa kwa kukirizwa kwa kengele ni kuhakikisha kwamba angalau wabunge waweze kuingia na kufikia akidi, na ni kufahamisha kwamba akidi ya bunge hili linakuwa ni waheshimiwa 50. Na tunapozidi kusonga mbele ni kufahamisha kwamba kwenye orodha ya shughuli ya alasiri ya leo vilevile kuna mswada wa mamlaka ya dawa za Kenya, mswada wa bunge la taifa, mswada nambari 54 wa mwaka 2022 ambao utakuwa unasomwa kwa mara ya pili. Mswada huu umeandaliwa na Mheshimiwa Robert Pukose, mbunge wa Endebess, na huyu Mheshimiwa Robert Pukose ana shahada ya uzamili katika tiba na upasuaji mkuu kutoka Chuo Kikuu cha Nairobi. Ni kamati ambayo ni mwenyekiti, na vilevile kutokana na utaalamu wake katika masuala na matibabu, ni mswada ambao unakuwa unaashiria na kufuatiliwa kwa karibu kuhusiana na mamlaka ya madawa ya Kenya, ambao unalenga kuweka mfumo wa kina wa kudhibiti dawa nchini, na unatarajiwa vilevile kuhakikisha kwamba taaluma hii inakuwa inazingatiwa na kufuatiliwa kwa karibu kuhusiana na sekta nzima ya dawa nchini. Mtazamaji, kuna marekebisho ya mswada wa kitaifa wa mamlaka ya ujenzi nambari 59 wa mwaka 2022 ambao ulitengenezwa na Mheshimiwa David Gikaria, mheshimiwa kutoka Nakuru Town East, ambao vilevile utakuwa unasomwa kwa mara ya pili. Na nikufahamisha tu ya kwamba lengo kuu ama mswada huu, marekebisho haya yanatafuta kutoa utambuzi kwa wanawake, vijana na watu wanaoishi na ulemavu kama vikundi vilivyotengwa na kuwapunguzia mzigo wa kulipia ada za usajili. Mswada huo vilevile hauna vifungu vinavyopunguza haki na uhuru wa msingi. Nazidi kusubiria kuhakikisha kwamba akidi inafikiwa na vikao hivi kuanza rasmi moja kwa moja. So napoangalia pale naona waheshimiwa wanazidi kuingia moja kwa moja, angalau tukitazamia muda usiokuwa mrefu akidi itakuwa inafikiwa na vikao hivi kuanza. Kumbuka vikao la siri ya leo tayari spika wa bunge hili la kitaifa Mheshimiwa Daktari Moses Masika Wetangula ameshaingia na atakuwa anaongoza vikao la siri ya leo. Nikufahamisha vilevile kuna mswada wa marekebisho wa Baraza la Taifa la Vijana nambari 1 wa mwaka 2023. Mswada huu umeandaliwa na Mheshimiwa Joshua Kandie. Lengo kuu la mswada huu ni kurekebisha sheria ya Baraza la Vijana la Kitaifa ili kuondoa wanachama wa Baraza la Vijana la Kitaifa kwa kuajiri kwa ushindani wa vijana wanaohudumu katika baraza hilo.
Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader of majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 27 September 2023, afternoon sitting. 1. The Circle Societies Specified on Deposit Taking Levy, Order number 2, Order of 2023 from the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development. Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development. 2. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein. Kiambu, Kikuyu constituency, where yours faithfully comes from, and Nakuru Town East constituency of Honorable Gikaria. 3, the performance audit report on response to gender-based violence from the State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action. 4, the performance audit report on National School Meals and Nutrition Program from the State Department for Early Learning and Basic Education. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Health, Dr. Bukose. Wapi Dr. Bukose? Vice Chair wake? Who is the Vice Chair of Health? Majority Leader? Bell the cat? Okay, we'll stay it to tomorrow. But if he comes and is ready before we go to the Committee of the Whole, we can be able to accommodate. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Majority Leader, we have many CS for finance. Yes, Honorable Omboko Milemba, you had actually seen me and wanted to make a short statement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am rising on a point of order understanding, Order 83, to seek your direction regarding the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. Honorable Speaker, the President Working Party on Education Reforms, popularly known as PWPER, made several recommendations to the education sector, consequently establishing great conflict not only between the Minister of Education, TAC, but also with other players in the field. Honorable Speaker, the recommendations that the Minister of Education review the grades for pre-service teachers jeopardize the mandate of the Teacher Service Commission as provided under Article 237(3) of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform has also recommended that the Minister of Education establishes a comprehensive school system where all levels of learning are managed as one institution, contrary to Part 2(9) of the 4th schedule of the Constitution. The Working Party further recommends that the Minister of Education recruit staff for special needs education institutions and hard staff areas. This recommendation will be contrary to the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, further, that the Presidential Working Party gives now powers to the Teacher Service Commission to employ chaplains and imams in schools. This is in direct conflict of Article 9 of the Constitution, which separates the state and religion, and therefore removes the powers of sponsors in the schools, replacing it with Teacher Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, I could go on, but let me stop there and indicate that, Speaker, the business of lawmaking is a reserve of Parliament under Article 109 of the Constitution. As it stands, there's a crisis in the education system with education organs and players existing before the 2010 Constitution intending to seize power within the education sector given these proposals. Honorable Speaker, I want to seek your guidance that this matter be handled by the House so that people do not change the Constitution and the acts of Parliament through the back door. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Chepkonga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to agree with Honorable Milemba. He's raising a very pertinent issue, very important issue to this country. One, Mr. Speaker, the issue of the Presidential Working Party recommendations remain recommendations until it is reduced into a bill which is brought to this House. Or two, it is reduced into a regulation which is brought to this House and committed to a committee. Mr. Speaker, there is a trend in this country where recommendations are made by committees that are appointed and they are implemented by passing this House, Mr. Speaker. And it has a force of law. Mr. Speaker, we would like you to pronounce yourself on these matters that are being implemented on the basis of recommendation, Mr. Speaker. And it is expected that people should obey them. Mr. Speaker, the work of a member of parliament, one of the cardinal roles of a member of parliament is legislation. We don't expect any other person who has not been elected by anyone, Mr. Speaker, to make law. That is in contravention of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Article 95 is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that there is no person who can make any law or who can pronounce himself on anything that has a force of law except this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I see the Honorable Milemba belaboring this point. This is a matter, Mr. Speaker, which you should issue sweeping decision from this House, from your chair, Mr. Speaker, that there is nobody in this country, however high and mighty they may think they are, including the cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker, they cannot make regulations or make recommendations and expect, like for instance, this one of the recommendations of the working party, Mr. Speaker. You cannot implement those regulations before you bring them to the House. It has an implication. There are laws in this country which govern that particular area. You need to come and amend them. Like the other one, Mr. Speaker, the other day, on the roads, on the Kenya Roads Board, they purportedly...
That you are anticipating debate.
No, sorry, Mr. Speaker. I was just giving an example.
Wait and speak when we...
Yes, I was just making a reference to it, Mr. Speaker, as just an example. But, Mr. Speaker, what we do not want to see as a House, Mr. Speaker, is where people don't believe in the rule of law. I attended the UK conference on the rule of law about 8 years ago. They were celebrating their 800 years, Mr. Speaker, of the rule of law. We should also be able to celebrate the rule of law in this country, where everybody follows the law. You know, what we have seen in this country, Mr. Speaker, we have seen, there's been this principle of tax avoidance and tax evasion. In fact, in this country, Mr. Speaker, we have seen law evasion. People avoiding to follow the law, avoiding to come up with bills to this House. So, Mr. Speaker, we would like to request, and in support of the Honorable Milemba, that you pronounce it yourself, that the recommendations remain recommendation, unless they have a different English dictionary, which they are using, Mr. Speaker. Then they should amend that dictionary to say that recommendations includes also law. But at the moment, Mr. Speaker, it remains recommendations. And it can gather dust wherever they are until they bring it here to this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, that is, before you give us your undertaking to let me hear Senior Counsel Otieno Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I fully support the sentiments by my colleagues. While the PWPES may so far be a policy or a proposed policy document, it is obvious that on its face it's expressly unconstitutional. It is also obvious on its case that it is presumptuous and in total assumption of the role of this House. Mr. Speaker, I say that because I'm aware that not only is it a policy document that has not crystallized into law under Article 95, but they have purported to appoint an implementation committee which is implementing it already, which means it's not even considered that it's necessary to see whether Parliament will adopt its recommendations into law, and Parliament becomes highly relevant under Article 95. Mr. Speaker, it is true that the point of determining unconstitutionality may not have arisen. It could either be determined by a court if it comes into law, or by the Speaker if it comes to the floor of the House. But the problem here is that there's a clear effort to circumvent that provision, so that the occasion of it deciding by the court might not arise because there will be no law passed by Parliament. But the occasion of determination by the Speaker might not arise because it will not come to you. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we now look at Article 95 critically. It is true nothing should assume the force of law except as passed by this House. But additionally, this House is also required under that article to deliberate and resolve issues of interest to Kenyans. This has become an issue of interest to Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, just this morning, I will report to you that the session that was being chaired by the Deputy Speaker had the chair of delegated legislation present before this chamber for rejection 2 sets of regulations, one which actually emanated from this same department under Section 70. I see that trend continuing in this report. It is a trend that must be rejected, and not just rejected, Mr. Speaker, by you saying that we think they should consult. It is within your powers and jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker, by way of communication, to pronounce yourself and say whatever is contained in that document that is purported to be implemented is void ab initio. And if anyone wants to remedy it, they know how to restart it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, I want to close it there. I think the point has been made abundantly clear. Majority Leader, can I hear you?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I really don't have much to add because the law is the law. The Constitution, as has been clearly articulated by Honorable Chepkonga, from Article 94, 95, 96, the Constitution is indeed very clear. And as much as there is a Statutory Instruments Act, Honorable Speaker, nobody, including cabinet secretaries, have the power to make law. Not even a presidential working party. The best they can do, Honorable Speaker, is to make recommendations which, if adopted, those that touch on statutes, those that even touch on the Constitution, at least maybe they may have a way of starting another process of amending the Constitution in line with our Constitution, Articles 251 to 255, from outside Parliament. But if they want a parliamentary initiative to change any bit of the Constitution or anything that touches on the Constitution, then it must begin from this House. Honorable Speaker, anything touching or even on statutes, that can only be changed in line with our Constitution by Parliament, either here or Senate, depending on what that particular recommendation would be. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I will pick it up with the Minister for Education to ensure that no recommendation from the working party that touches on statute or on the Constitution that is implemented without requisite changes to the laws. And that, Honorable Speaker, allow me to follow it up with the Minister to make sure that he does give a statement on what he is doing in line with all the recommendations, so that if there are recommendations that touch on changes in the law, then he must be able to work together with the Departmental Committee on Education to bring those changes to law. If there are any that touches on the Constitution, I am certain the Jailer Committee is also more than willing to assist. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. You will do even better. Majority Leader, you will have to engage the Minister, and I will direct you to bring a comprehensive statement to that issue. Tuesday, a week today, not next Tuesday, the other Tuesday. You bring a comprehensive statement, and nobody, and I repeat, nobody, no Minister of Government can purport to make law or do things that appear to be interpreted that they have made law, because they have no capacity to make any law. Yes. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You wanted to raise an issue. I'll give you 2 minutes. I want to go to question time. We have a lot of...
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief. I rise on Standing Order 216 on the mandate of committees, Mr. Speaker, and I need your guidance on the following matters. First issue, Mr. Speaker, is that we are all aware that Kenya Police is set to deploy 1,000 officers to go and combat violent crimes in Haiti. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, you are aware that the U.S. Secretary of Defense and our CS for Defense, Honorable Haden Duale, have also signed a peace agreement that binds this country for a period of 5 years. Mr. Speaker, my concern is Parliament going to sit and watch while these things go and happen, or is Parliament also going to play a role in this? Because I believe that Parliament is meant to be able to participate in any decision-making process where Kenyans are affected. So, Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance on what role is Parliament going to play in those two issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, you don't have to answer that now. The Tuesday I told you to bring the statement will actually be a public holiday. It's called Huduma Day. So you will bring your statement on Wednesday, which will be the 11th of next month, and you will be required to bring two statements, the one on education and the one raised by Robert Mbui. So that, Honorable Pukose, I will step back and allow you to table your document.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for being magnanimous to allow me to table this statement. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 27 September 2023, report of the Departmental Committee on Health on its consideration of the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill, National Assembly Bill number 61 of 2022. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the following schools in the Speakers and Public Gallery. Kiriti Girls High School from Mathioya, Muranga. Kivou Primary School from Mwingi Central, Kitui. Thome Secondary School from Laikipia West, Laikipia. And this is not a school, it's called Small Business Traders from Migori, Suna East in Migori. On your behalf and on behalf of the Speaker, we welcome all our visitors to the House of Parliament. Thank you. Now we'll go to question time. Members, today I want us to take not more than 1 hour on questions. So we'll proceed as follows with the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning. The questioner will ask the question. The Minister will answer. Supplementary will go to the questioner. And there will be only one, and I mean only one, joyrider. Only one to each question. So, Minister, you are in the chamber now. I'll call out the first question. Question number 010 of 2023. Minister, combine that question with question number 297 of 2023. So I'll invite the member for Turkana South to ask his question, and the member for Mathioya to ask his question. The two questions are related, then they will be answered together. Member for Turkana South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker,
Ariko.
For this opportunity to ask a question by private notice. Question number 010/2023. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, explain the circumstances under which 2 revenue service assistants recently recruited by Kenya Revenue Authority were unfairly dismissed? That is Mr. Moran Ekaran of ID number 34333-532 dismissed on 22nd July 2023 after 3 days of training. And Mr. Jacob Nakali Etiri of ID number 40343341, dismissed on 15th August 2023 after 8 weeks of training. Second question, clarify whether the necessary procedures of dismissals were followed, including adherence to Article 27 of the Constitution. 3, state when the 2 revenue service assistants will be recalled to resume training or be deployed. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Edwin Mugo. Edwin Mugo, Minister, you'll combine those two, they are related. Edwin Mugo.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Cabinet Secretary, number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Kenya Revenue Authority revenue assistance recruitment exercise has been interfered with? Why is the recruitment and training exercise being handed over or was being handed over to the military, noting that the process ought to have been under the Kenya Revenue Authority? Why should the recruits for the revenue collection body undergo paramilitary training? Does it mean we should let this process for collecting taxes? Highly motivated individuals who are supposed to fill this revenue assistant position were not considered despite successfully filling the aptitude test. In Madhya constituency, for example, hundreds of individuals who applied for the position were not.
Honorable Mugo, that is not a question on the order paper. You are reading your own things.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker,
the question is on the order paper, and I want you to read it as is printed. You seem to be debating the question instead of asking the question.
Do you have the order paper?
You don't have the order paper?
No. I had Mr. Speaker, I had printed the question.
What you framed is not necessarily what is on the order paper. They are edited to make sense by the clerks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, well guided, Mr. Speaker.
You have the order paper now?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, go ahead and ask the question. You have a problem? I can come back to you later.
No, Mr. Speaker, I have it now, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, clarify whether Kenya Revenue Authority officers recruited in the Domestic Taxes Department in June 23 will undergo paramilitary training in Eldoret before their deployment? Number 2, while explaining the criteria used by KRA to arrive at the final list, provide a list showing the distribution of individuals recruited in terms of age and gender per constituency. Number 3, clarify whether some individuals were turned away from the training in Eldoret based on drug abuse history, HIV/AIDS status, having given birth within 6 months preceding the date of reporting for training, and having physical scars on their bodies. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, you can answer those two. avoid making lofty statements. Just answer the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me say that in my response to the questions and the detailed answers that are provided, I'm going to answer question 1, which is on page 1, and the rest of the questions are combined in question 11 from my detailed responses. The first question in response, Mr. Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Revenue Authority recruited 1,406 revenue service assistants who have been undergoing training at the Recruits Training School in Eldoret since 20th June 2023, and they graduated on the 25th August 2023. And the role of the revenue assistant officers is purely intelligence gathering and management to detect, deter, and stem tax evasion. So it is a field, it's a work that is related to field work, and it requires physical fitness and alertness, and for swift and tactical skills. Hence, the Revenue Service Assistance Program had a dimension of paramilitary training for effective policing interventions against VAT and excise tax leakages. This is the first time the authority has undertaken such a program, and hence it collaborated with the National Defence Forces to successfully roll out the program. In this regard, the authority complied with the requirements set out by paramilitary trainers and for health and safety of the recruits themselves. Part of the requirements was medical assessment to ascertain if the trainees were fit for the rigorous paramilitary training. Upon medical assessment, any candidate found not fit for the training was therefore not enrolled for the training. In this regard, Honorable Speaker, only 2 that have been referred to were found unfit. One was for health reasons, and the second one was actually falsely providing police clearance certificates. I've provided the details of even what happened. They were not trained for the 3 days. They were actually not even trained because they did not undergo the process, Honorable Speaker, sir. On question, the next question is found on number 11 from my list, and it relates to, let me get it, thank you. It relates to
why they are undergoing military paramilitary training.
Yes, I have it, sir. It relates to, in the response, Honorable Speaker, the revenue service assistants were being trained on technical skills, VAT and exercise, and also paramilitary training for fitness and alertness. A total of 1,406 recruits were sent to KDF Recruit Training School in Eldoret, and for the 2 months training before their deployment. And while they were there, the targets for the citizens was in the age category of 18 and 35 years of age, with a minimum of grade D+ in KSC or even IGSC. The selection was guided by inclusive recruitment framework in line with 2019 National Bureau of Statistics KNBS census, and in consideration of gender balance, ethnic representation, disability status, in accordance of the nature of disability in view of the job requirements, minority and marginalized communities, constituency representation, and the distribution of the recruited personnel, RSA as we call them, revenue service assistants, in terms of consistency and gender, and even representation is attached in an annex. But in summary, I have on page 30, table 1, on age representation, we have between 18 and 20 years is about 7.8%, or 110 recruits. 21 to 25 years, we have 500 recruits, which is about 39.12% of the total sample. 26 to 30 years, there were 542, which is equivalent to 38.35% of the sample. And 31 to 35 years is 204, which is equivalent to 14.5% of the sample. Honorable Speaker, the Revenue Service Assistance Program had a military training element, and this was the first time the Kenya Revenue Authority undertook such a program, hence the need to collaborate with the National Defense Forces to successfully roll out the program. The rationale for the prescribed paramilitary training was as follows. We needed to help those recruits maintain training readiness and reduce potential risks, protect health and safety for the recruits, and mitigate the uncertainty on managing complications and even special cases. And the following categories of diseases were actually registered, as has been said in the question. But the most important thing is that the KRA complied with the training requirements set by KDF and the paramilitary training, and the outcome of medical assessment was what was observed clearly. Thank you. The distribution per constituency, Honorable Speaker, is actually found in the annex of the details I've provided. I found it quite rampant to go through, but I wanted to actually show the age cohorts. Even the gender balance the gender distribution is also provided in the annex of the details of the documents that are there. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ariko? You're satisfied with the answer?
Not satisfied, Honorable Speaker.
Ask your supplementary.
Honorable Speaker, I request the CS to make a disclosure on what we call medical assessment. Because the person mentioned, Mora, if you can see him physically, is fit for this position. Honorable Speaker, Turkana County has suffered a lot, has suffered in terms of multi-dimensional poverty as a result of this kind of segregation. Honorable Speaker, Turkana South, and specifically Lokichar Ward, was very lucky to secure 2 positions under this plan. All these were dismissed. When these boys were recruited, the people of Lokichar Ward were very happy, and they recognized and appreciated the presence of Kenya Revenue Authority in Kenya. But it became so unfortunate when the community heard that these boys, who are physically fit for any position, dismissed by KRA. To the second boy called Etir. Etir, it is false to say that Etir did not finish the training. The training was finished before 15th of August. And the boys graduated, or the trainees graduated somewhere on 22nd or 25th of August. So on the item being said, or the certificate of good conduct, it is evidence by the application that the boy did apply for a certificate of good conduct in Huduma Center in Lodwar. And I had sent a payment receipt. The boy paid to Kenya government 1,050 shillings for this application. The same boy filled form C24, which has the same information. If you look at the 2 certificates, the reference is the same. The first certificate that was issued by a Huduma Center officer to the boy has the same reference to the current said valid certificate of good conduct. The same document. So I don't see the only difference between the two documents are the dates. But the signature is the same. So my question, it is not true that the boy did a forgery. The document was sent by an Huduma Center staff. It is not true. And Honorable Speaker, this matter we requested DCI to do an investigation. I want to ask the CS, how far has the investigation gone? Because I have the information, but the CS has not revealed about the investigation of this forgery. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mugo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. While I'm partly satisfied by the response from the CS, because he said that this is the first in-kind of recruitment where the military and KRA were working together. But, Mr. Speaker, Article 27(4) of the Constitution states that employees shall not be discriminated against directly or indirectly on grounds of race, sex, pregnancy, language, and many others. And many others, I thought maybe it was the issue of medical. Maybe in future, when they are issuing the job advert, they should state clearly that if somebody knows that they are sick, then they should not apply for some of these jobs. So, Mr. Speaker, probably this was the first in kind of training, but I would hope that this can be improved in future. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Honorable Muga has just complimented you, so you don't need to go to that. Answer the allegations of Ariko.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Certificate of good conduct was not a forgery.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me start with the first one. And my response, I want to go into the detailed response. Mr. Moran Kenson Ekaran, the holder of ID number 34333532, was invited for a non-boarding assessment at Recruit Training School, Eldoret, and presented himself for the assessment on the 20th June. Upon conclusion of the assessment, Mr. Ekran was not cleared to undertake the training as he was found unfit to undergo the Revenue Service Assistant Training Program. Mr. Ekran returned on 22nd June 2023, where he was again not onboarded on the basis of the 20th June 2023 medical assessment by the KDF medical doctor. Mr. Ekran was therefore not offered to train as an RSA as he did not succeed in the medical assessment. The allegation that he was dismissed after 3 days of training is therefore not true, but also, Honorable Speaker, we rely on the opinion from the expert. If we further follow up, we will do that. On Mr. Jacob Nakari Etil, ID number 403-43341, dismissed on 15th of August 2023 after 8 weeks of training. The response to this is that the offer to train as a revenue assistant given to the RSAs was subject to successful onboarding, assessment, and subsequent background check, among other conditions. Mr. Jacob Etil, who has been successfully onboarded for the training, was upon conclusion of the background check found to have provided false information regarding the police clearance certificate, which was submitted as part of the required documents. And following a report dated 26 July 2023, reference number DCI/DCI/SEC/6/7/2/A/Forum X11, that is 13/33, by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, that the police clearance certificate submitted by Mr. Etil was not genuine. the authority invoked the provision of clause 5 of the operator on requirement of satisfactory background checks to terminate the offer of Mr. Etil to train as a revenue service assistant. The termination is in line with clause 6.1.2.1.4 of the KRA Code of Conduct, which classified giving false information as gross misconduct. Honorable Speaker, I would follow up with what Honorable Member has said with further investigations, but I think it will be related to the report by DCI that was provided. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Question 215 of 2023 by Honorable Opio Wandai. Honorable Opio Wandai, the minority leader is not here. Yes, Wamboka.
Honorable Wandai is engaged and just had asked that the minister can therefore go ahead and answer the question.
The minister can't answer a question that has not been asked.
Can I ask on behalf of Honorable
You can't, because there's no written designation to the speaker that you ask on his behalf.
You may use your discretion, Honorable Speaker.
I have no discretion.
I'll be very grateful, as I've always.
I have no discretion on this. The rules are very clear. Honorable Ondai's question will be stayed for any other time that the minister may be coming here. Question 150 of 2023, Honorable John Makali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask question number 150/2023 to the Cabinet Secretary. Could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether the government has ever released the sum of Kenya shillings 21,782,366,530 and a further Kenya shillings 908,878,470 towards restructuring of Nzoia Sugar Company Limited as per the recommendations of the sessional paper number 12 of 2012 adopted by the National Assembly on the 9th January 2013. 2. If in the affirmative, provide any evidence indicating when the funds were released and any annual write-offs. 3. Provide details of the current annual status of the balance sheet of Nzoia Sugar Company Limited. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In response to this question, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury has not released Kenya shillings 21.782 million and further Kenya shillings 900
million or billion? What are billion?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The National Treasury has not released Kenya shillings 21.782 billion and further Kenya shillings 908.88 million towards restructuring of the balance sheet of Nzoia Sugar Company as per the sessional paper number 12 of 2012. The funds were never appropriated after the change of government administration in March 2013. No funds were released for the second question, and no rights were made. In that question, in response, what appears to have happened, I have provided a table which shows the statement of the financial position as of June 2023. We see that the assets are 9.18 billion. The current non-current assets are 1.49 billion, and total assets are 10.6 billion. These are financed by capital reserves, which is negative to the tune of 55.73 billion, and the liabilities are current liabilities are 4.38 billion, current liabilities 62.02 billion, and total liabilities are actually 66.41 billion. and the liabilities and capital are 10.67 billion. What I have attached, Mr. Honorable Speaker, are the latest audited financial statements from 30th June 2022 in Annex 1, Appendix 1, and the fourth quarter 2022-2023 financial statements, the report that is provided in Appendix 2. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
John Macaulay, you have any supplementary question?
Speaker.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, I am not satisfied with the response by the Cabinet Secretary for 3 reasons. One, this was a resolution of the House of this National Assembly to write off those debts. Those debts were not written off, and every time we go to the villages, we keep on asking, why were those debts not written off? The Cabinet Secretary has not explained the circumstances under which those debts were not written off. Two, on the 14th of this month, this House again sat and passed another resolution that those debts were to be written off. We want to be given an assurance by the Cabinet Secretary that this time round, all those debts are going to be written off and farmers be paid and the workers be paid. 3, the Cabinet Secretary has not given a clear-cut response that the current balance sheet of Nzoia Sugar Company is after writing off of those days, we'll have a clear balance sheet. Because what we want, Honorable Speaker, is to have a clear balance sheet so that this particular company can be able to begin operating to profitability. The difficulty we have, Honorable Speaker, is that out of a small loan that was given of 9.9 million shillings, now we have a debt of 27 billion shillings out of accrued interest, precisely arising out of non-compliance with the resolution of this particular House. Can the Cabinet Secretary assure this House, the nation and the people of Bungoma, that whatever resolution that are given by this House will be honored and implemented and executed to the letter?
Thank you. Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. There is a supplementary question number 8 from my records that tries to explain the subsequent statement that has been made. Honorable Speaker, I was hoping that I would want to take those 2 questions because they are complementing each other. Can I do that?
Minister, you finished?
I had actually said, Honorable Speaker, I had related that to another issue that is related to this on the bailout, as well as the current thinking in terms of rescuing the sugar sector. And I was hoping that I can answer that when I'm doing that, because it combines the process.
In the course of this afternoon? If you are not with full information, write to the member through the clerk.
That is in order, because we have a supplementary answer to that, to the bailout section this afternoon that we are going to provide.
Okay, fine. When we get there, you can deal with it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, 151, member for Madare, Antonio Lodge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question 151 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the reasons as to why funds to political parties have not been paid out in accordance with the provisions of the Political Parties Act since its enactment? And in particular, circumstances under which the political party funds meant to ensure political parties operate and function as institutions of governance are yet to be fully disbursed 4 months to the end of the 2022-2023 financial year. 2, outline the steps that the ministry has taken to implement the High Court decision, Judicial Review number 483 of 2016, that directed the Cabinet Secretary to, among other things, ensure that the National Treasury makes budgetary proposals and estimates that reflect allocations not less than 0.3% of national revenues to political parties, including steps that the ministry is taking to comply with provisions of the Political Parties Act. And 3, indicate the arrears due and owing to each of the political parties for the financial years 2016-2017 up to and until 2022-2023. The steps being taken to ensure that the arrears are cleared, and further explain the measures the ministry is taking to ensure that political parties are able to pay their staff in time and carry out their calendar of activities uninterrupted, as required by the Constitution and the Political Parties Act. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In response to this question, let me say that in totality of it, the constraints are purely the exchequer revenues. Honourable Speaker, the allocation of government revenue is guided by the Constitution, the Public Finance Act 2012, and the Contingency Fund, and even the Commission on Revenue Allocation Act. And the Constitution provides the structure and priority in which revenue collected by the national government shall be shared between the national and county governments, and is provided under the Constitution. These are non-discretionary expenditures that take the first charge in the budget, and these include the allocation towards debt service, pensions, contingency fund, salary requirements across governments, and provisions to the constitutional commissions and independent offices, including Parliament and the judiciary. Once resources are shared according to the risks that are provided, we look at what is left, and then it can be shared out. The constraints have been with us for a long time, Honourable Speaker, and with respect to the second question, the prevailing fiscal environment is such as considerable debt repayments and the current expenditure allocation, and even given the need to respond to emergencies, has placed the National Treasury in a very, very peculiar circumstance. With this in mind, I have provided a table summary which shows the allocations and the arrears. That is the table on page 11, which answers the third question, and I've showed the arrears. For example, I start with the actual allocation in 2016 to 2017, and I add up to with the allocations of 2022 to 2023. I've shown what was budgetary allocation, and I've shown at the last law the allocations. The arrears, and the arrears are to the tune of 30.056 billion. Honourable Speaker, the last question I have shown the amount that has been allocated to the political parties fund, and is currently provided for, and this is also provided on in table table 12, and it starts from 2018, where amount of Kenya shillings 671 million was allocated to the fund, and all the way down to 2023, where 1.47 billion is allocated to the fund. The problem here is that even though it is allocated, the fiscal constraints are giving us quite a major problem. However, the National Treasury has been progressively enhancing the allocation to the political parties fund to limit growth in these arrears. As I've shown in the other table on page 11, we want to make sure that we minimize this. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, the political parties fund is administered by the Registrar of Political Parties as provided under the Section 23 of the Political Parties Act 2011. Further, Section 68 of the PFMA Act 2012 gives the responsibility of an accounting officer, which includes preparation of estimates and expenditures and revenues of the entity in conformity with the strategic plan. Any further details can also be provided by the Registrar of Political Parties. But let me summarize by saying that it is the physical constraints that has pushed us this far. It is a hope that we do believe that the future is likely to be bright and we can clear these arrears. Thank you.
Anton Oloch, are you satisfied with the explanation?
No.
Give Anton Oloch the mic. Ask a supplementary if you have any.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you to the CS. However, I wish to ask this supplementary question because specifically on the question of the court award, which we adverted to the judicial review number 483 of 2016. The minister has not, to my mind, and in the printed copy that I've looked at, answered what steps they are taking to respond to or meet the court award that was issued and which is still in arrears, even if you take into account the fiscal constraints that are there at the current time. In addition to that, to the CS, Article 201 states that tax burden and benefits are supposed to be shared equally, so that even if we acknowledge that there are challenges to the exchequer after taking out the ones that are prioritized, can you demonstrate that even when the exchequer falls short, the constitutional commissions and all these other organs, including Parliament, are deducted or denied allocations to the extent of the shortfall of the exchequer? And lastly, employees of political parties are required to pay statutory deductions. They are required to pay NHIF, NSSF. They are required to pay housing levy. How is the ministry taking into account the penalties that will accrue as a result of this default? What measures will be put in place to cushion political parties, which are institutions of governance in paramateria with all other institutions, that they are equally safeguarded even as we talk about exchequer shortfalls? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you for that, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for that question. I do believe we will abide by the directions provided by this House. It is this House that determines the allocation of resources. It is this House that allows us to disburse these resources on the basis of availability. And it's also this House that gives us direction, and we'll continue doing that. However, the scarcity of resources permits us to actually show that we can look for flexibility when it is available. In the end, sometimes we find ourselves even negotiating for the penalties that the Honourable Member has actually talked about, just because we are facing some serious constraints on the exchequer requests, given the exchequer revenues that are available. So in fact, we do believe that the future will be brighter and we can actually resolve some of those historical legacy issues in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Honourable members, question 153 and 216 are related. So I'll invite the Honourable Mashua Waithaka, member for Kiambu.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
And Kamket, get ready to follow. Minister, you'll answer those together.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning the following question. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the volume of US dollars reserve held by the Central Bank of Kenya and each of the commercial banks in the country, and confirm whether the high volume of US dollars believably being hoarded by commercial banks accounts for the spiraling exchange rate that has hit an all-time high. Question number 2. Explain why the rate of exchange for purchasing US dollars from forex bureaus and commercial banks is as high as 141 Kenya shillings and shillings 146 per unit respectively. Yet the indicative exchange rate set by the Central Bank of Kenya is 129 shillings, translating to a difference of almost 15 shillings per unit against the CBK rate. Question number 3, what measures has the ministry put in place to resolve the shortage of dollar supply, lower the exchange rate, cushion importers from the loss of money due to the high dollar exchange rate, and to avoid the proliferation of black money exchange markets? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. William Kamket.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and Economic Planning the following question. 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the impact that de-dollarization by countries such as China, Brazil, Russia, India, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia may have on Kenya's economy, in light of the fact that these countries are key markets and trade partners in Kenya's international.
Good afternoon to you. We interrupt your normal programming as you've just seen on your screen. On the right side, it is the ongoings at the National Assembly, while today the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Professor Njuguna Ndugu, is before the committee. On the other side of your screen is President William Ruto addressing this year's National Trade Fair for its official opening at Jamhuri Park. Let's listen in.
It is therefore critical that we use opportunities such as this to engage a broader regional, continental, and global audience. The conjunction of agriculture and trade is just one, and certainly not the only example of the manner in which agricultural transformation and performance directly affects the performance of other sectors and is also affected by the activities in other spheres of economic pursuit. Once we proceed beyond subsistence agriculture, we have to take account of such matters as competitiveness, productivity, efficiency, value addition, manufacturing, and most certainly trade, both local and international. This matter means that we must also give consideration to linkages, both forwards and backwards, between agriculture and industrialization, trade and services sector, as well as the powerful connection between agricultural performance and the most critical challenge we confront today, the cost of living, the subject of poverty, trade deficit, and of course, the big influence agriculture has on unemployment. I shall therefore focus on the plan being implemented by the government to address our most critical development challenges, with specific emphasis on the salient aspects of this year's theme: high productivity, technology-enabled, and science-driven climate-smart agriculture, together with globally competitive trade in high-value agro-industrial products. At the heart of our bottom-up transformation agenda is the endeavor to radically increase employment opportunities and simultaneously significantly enhance the productivity of labor in 5 priority sectors. Without a doubt, our interventions to transform agriculture are fundamental to the successful implementation of the plan. One of the drivers of the high cost of living and high levels of poverty especially in rural areas, is that agricultural productivity has stagnated even as our population rose. Consequently, our food production more often than not falls below demand, and the importation of food increases our trade deficit and increases food prices. Given that food constitutes up to 54% of household expenditure, agricultural productivity is therefore a very high priority. At the same time, agriculture contributes 70% of employment of our population. Low productivity contributes to low earnings in the agricultural sector and undermines the capacity of households to withstand the cost of living, deepening poverty. Further, agriculture contributes 25% to our GDP directly and another 25% indirectly, a total of 50%. Low productivity responsible for deficit in essential agricultural produce is responsible for high importation, which depletes our foreign exchange and deepens the negative trade balance, worsening economic situations everywhere. Very few sectors of our economy have endured as much shock and stress as agriculture on account of extreme weather events, erratic climate, and the other adverse impacts of climate change. Our nation and our region has just emerged from a devastating spell of drought, which lasted for 6 seasons, leaving behind a catastrophic trail of famine, undernourishment, loss of crops and livestock, disrupted livelihoods, increased poverty, and weakened resilience. Yet we are not here to talk about all that is negative, especially when the prospects of a turnaround are so clear before us. This overview is intended to be a contextual backdrop of the opportunities that exist for local and international investors to direct capital and technology into agriculture and agro-industrial manufacturing in order to set out our economy on a path of transformation. We make agriculture a high priority for strategic intervention for a range of excellent reasons. The first, of course, is that directly and positively affects the incomes of 2/3 of our population. Higher incomes not only make a better standard of living possible, it facilitates savings, investment, propelling growth, and makes agriculture offer higher employment and income multipliers and contribute to significant poverty reduction. Equally critical is that such intervention, and intentional intervention at that, addresses the cost of living, especially for the poor who spend up to 60% on food, as well as households in general, for whom food contributes, as I said earlier, 54% of their expenditure. Utilizing our full agricultural potential can mitigate our dependence on food imports, protecting our foreign exchange, and insulating us from vulnerability to international price shocks. At the same time, we remain most globally competitive in agriculture, both in traditional crops like tea, coffee, cut flowers, and vegetables, as well as emerging export crops such as macadamia and avocado. This means that transforming agricultural activity will turn around our balance of trade through increased exports. It is the reason why, as the Governor of Nairobi said, we are expanding the footprints of markets across Kenya. Apart from the markets we are building in the city of Nairobi, we are building another 400 markets in rural areas in Kenya and 47 county aggregation and industrial parks. This will serve as outlets for our farmers. And these facilities will not only have storage, it will also have cold rooms. It will also have value addition infrastructure and it will also have common user facilities for people in the space of agro-processing and value addition, so that we can not only create jobs, we can also add value to our products, increase incomes for our farmers, and eliminate wastage. Because when we provide storage and cold rooms, we eliminate post-harvest losses that come as a result of wastage that accompanies infrastructure that is not sufficient for our farmers to use to protect themselves from unnecessary losses. Kenyan manufacturing remains largely defined by agriculture. 40% of manufacturing jobs are in the agro-based industries, which account for over half of the sector and 48% of GDP. Value addition remains the most viable means of enhancing the competitiveness of our agricultural exports. We are collaborating with the county governments to establish, as I have said, a county aggregation and industrial park in every county. And we have begun the process to roll out the construction. It is my instruction that these county aggregation and industrial parks should be finished within the next 9 months and make them ready to serve farmers across the country. Our bottom-up economic transformation agenda aims to transform 2 million farmers from food deficit to surplus producers and reduce our dependence on basic food imports like domestic oil crops, wheat and rice by 30% through the provision of financing for inputs accompanied by intensive agricultural extension support. Fertilizer alone contributes up to 30% of crop productivity. Since assuming office, we have taken decisive steps to reduce the price of fertilizer through the fertilizer subsidy program from Kenya shillings 6,500 per 50 kilogram bag to 3,500, then further to 2,500. As a consequence, 4 million 50 kilogram bag of soil and crop specific fertilizer has been distributed so far, with 2 million 50 kilogram bags expected to be distributed for the short rains between now and December, and a further 6 million bags during the season of 2024. Consequently, farmers could afford to grow more crops, resulting in the cultivation of an extra 200,000 acres this season alone, and a projected harvest of 44 million 90 kilogram bag in the long range alone, a 42% increase from a long time average of 31.3 million bags. To turn agricultural production around to an accelerated growth trajectory, we have also made adequate provision to raise productivity in key food and other value chains, including edible oils, rice, cotton, dairy, beef, and leather, to boost tea sector and reform underperforming and collapse export crop value chains that have challenges like coffee, cashew nut, pyrethrum, and new crops, avocado and macadamia. The promise of this strategic pathway is immense. For instance, by investing in the cultivation of palm oil, sunflower, canola, and soybeans, we project to increase the annual domestic production of edible oils from 80,000 metric tons currently to 240,000 metric tons over the next 5 years, thereby reducing our dependency on imports and saving the country almost 100 billion that we spend annually on imports of edible oils. And the ministry has undertaken, the Ministry of Agriculture that is, that they will deliberately make seeds available, whether it is for sunflower, canola, soya. We are going to make sure that these seeds are affordable and they are available. We are also discussing with KALRO and the other research institutes so that we can also have wheat varieties that are researched appropriately so that we can enhance our production in the wheat varieties that we have. Similarly, the expansion of our rice production schemes in Ahero and Mwea, as well as the establishment of new ones in Tana River and in Migori, can make the country self-sufficient, saving us another 34 billion in imports. On the other hand, accelerated investment in cotton value chain will reduce our fabric importation by at least 50% and take Kenya's textile exports to 150 billion by 2027. I am happy to note that there is already a running program on importation of high-quality seed of cotton that will be made available to farmers. And I am happy that counties are working with us on this aspect of ensuring that cotton becomes the white gold that we always knew it to be. I want to encourage the county governments that are working with us to work with the Ministry of Agriculture as we deliver cotton seed for them to engage in the growing. I want to ask them to work with farmers so that farmers can have access to extension services. Tea is the direct and indirect employer of 6.5 million people, or 13% of our population, including 750,000 farmers in 19 counties. Over the past year, the government has invested 4.4 billion in fertilizer price subsidy for our tea farmers, converting and covering the catchment area of all 54 smallholder factories. The subsidy resulted in a reduction of fertilizer prices from about 5,600 to 3,500, and I have made a commitment to all our tea, coffee, and all farmers in Kenya, including sugar, that we are going to reduce all varieties of fertilizer that are used by all farmers to 2,500 going forward. We have also developed a proposal to establish a framework to provide incentives for investment in local value addition of tea. Keteba, which processes smallholder tea, participated in the inaugural export of the economic community of West Africa states under the EAC and EFTA program. Under the coffee revitalization program, 72 factories are earmarked for upgrading. Additionally, farmers are to be provided with seedlings and fertilizer at subsidized prices. The aim is to increase productivity from 2 kilograms per tree to 10 kilograms and raise production from 50,000 metric tons to 102 metric tons per annum by 2027. I want to assure coffee farmers that the government of Kenya will work with all stakeholders to ensure that wastage, inefficiency, corruption, and other malpractices are eliminated. Farmers must get a good return for their crop. I want to assure all farmers, let me be specific about coffee. I know at the moment there are challenges in the coffee sector. I have taken a keen interest. My deputy is seized with that matter, and I want to assure our farmers that the government of Kenya will do whatever it takes to make sure that farmers don't suffer the consequences of what we have seen in the past, where a few people benefit and the rest of the farming fraternity are in poverty. Wakulima wote, especially wakulima wa kahawa, niwaambie ya kwamba tutahakikisha, tunajua saa hizi kuna matatizo ya soko, lakini hiyo soko na matatizo yaliyoko katika sekta ya kahawa ni lazima tuyatatue. Wale watu wote wako katika hiyo sekta, nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba serikali ya Kenya, mimi nikiongoza hiyo serikali, tutahakikisha kwamba tumetatua matatizo yaliyo katika sehemu hiyo ya kahawa. The sugar industry remains a high priority strategic sector for national agro-industrial development, wealth and employment creation. However, our production is chronically at deficit, with productivity plagued by aging mills, high indebtedness of sector institutions, diminishing soil facility, competition for land, low uptake of research variety of cane, low use of fertilizer, among other challenges. Local and international shortage of sugar has pushed the prices of the commodity beyond the reach of many households, underscoring the urgent need for a comprehensive transformation of the sector. This is why the government of Kenya has embarked on interventions to deliver conclusive resolution of the problems undermining the sector's potential. To begin with, the Cabinet has approved the write-off of Kenya shillings 117 billion of debt owed to state-owned sugar mills and companies in preparation for the leasing of the mills to private investors. The aim of the intervention is to inject competitiveness to the sector and ensure that at the expiry of the leases, the land reverts back to communities under a cooperative model. We have also been not afraid, and neither have we hesitated to take difficult decisions to restore sanity in the sugar sector. Regulatory reforms are being undertaken to empower farmers and give stakeholders a say in the affairs of the sugar industry. We remain vigilant and shall closely monitor progress to ensure that government decisions to advance the interests of the sugar growers and consumers are fully implemented in a timely fashion. The conversation we have initiated with leaders from the sugar belt will be sustained until we find a lasting solution to the chronic challenges that have brought the sector to its knees and impoverished thousands of hard-working farming households. On leather, we are investing 1.7 billion in the 2023-2024 budget to develop the leather pack industry in Kenania. There will be more investments by government and private sector to further transform the leather value chain into a globally competitive finished leather and leather goods manufacturing industry and reduce importation of leather goods, especially footwear. As a short-term measure to mitigate the high cost of food, the government has waived duty on imported maize, rice, sugar, and raw materials for manufacturing of livestock feeds. Specifically, in this year's budget, we have waived duty on yellow maize for animal feed production. I will shortly have a conversation with all the manufacturers of our animal feed so that we engage and find ways beyond the interventions we already have to ensure that our dairy, leather, and in general livestock sector is taken care of. 2/3 of our country's agricultural land requires irrigation, but only 4% is under irrigation. I believe that irrigation is a singular transformative intervention that will liberate agricultural productivity from low and erratic rainfall patterns and enable farmers to be in active production throughout the year. And that is the reason why we have a comprehensive government program to ensure that we harvest and store water in dams, in microdams, in ponds, and a comprehensive program is being undertaken by the Ministry of Water and Irrigation and working with the private sector under the PPP program to ensure that we increase the land under irrigation from the current 60,000 to 250,000 by next year and 500,000 hectares in 5 years. Aside from productivity, another key challenge to the performance of the agricultural sector is the subdivision of land holding into units that are not agriculturally viable, and pressure on available land by settlement and other uses. And it is the reason why our affordable housing program, which is currently underway, is partly a solution to reversing the land fragmentation that is going on, so that we can use other alternatives of settlement in our affordable housing program and release land that currently is being used for settlement for agricultural productivity in our land consolidation program. This will go a long way in ensuring that we deliver on our commitment on increasing food production and enhancing food security in our country. We are intentional about actualizing our vision for agricultural transformation through increased productivity and determined to prosecute a direct line of attack against the high cost of living, poverty, and unemployment. We have embarked on the focused execution of the plan to enhance productivity in several agricultural value chains to promote self-sufficiency and also export competitiveness. We expect the fruits of this intervention to begin accruing shortly, and in the maize, especially in the maize harvesting season, through sustained affordability of stable and other food commodities. In all our interventions in supporting production, we have chosen the prudent and promising option to subsidize production. We have chosen to take the side of farmers, Kenya's foremost hustlers, and the people at the bottom of the economic pyramid. We have embraced bottom-up transformation of the foundational sector, that is agriculture, in order to ignite the engine of our national development. And in doing so, we have intervened to bring all the variables within our reach, affecting the cost of living under control through strategic investment in critical value chains. This leaves us with a separate undertaking of managing the variables beyond our control, which are subject to global market and supply chain dynamics. I wish to emphasize that for the benefit of the local and international investors, that all the strategic interventions in various sectors and value chains represent attractive investment opportunities that will generously reward smart capital, especially capital that concerns itself with appropriate technology and innovation. You are encouraged to get in touch with the Ministries of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Water and Irrigation, and Industrialization, Trade and Investment for further details regarding the various investment opportunities. Regardless of sector or value chain, any discussion of climate-smart agriculture or trade initiatives or bottom-up agricultural transformation is a discussion of opportunities for investment. I commend the Agricultural Show of Kenya and its affiliates and partners for once again putting together another edition of the Nairobi International Trade Fair that meets the highest standard. And I am encouraged by the many Kenyans, the thousands of Kenyans that I have come across as I went around this showground. Congratulations to the organizers, my very best wishes to ASK, and we look forward to working with you going into the future. Asanteni sana na nataka niwashukuru wakulima wote. Vile nimesema hapa, kilimo ni muhimu kwa sababu inatusaidia kupunguza gharama ya maisha kwa kuhakikisha kwamba tunazalisha chakula ya kutosha. Kilimo ni muhimu kwa sababu inatupatia raw material ya viwanda zetu zote. 40% ya raw materials ya viwanda zetu zote zinatoka kwa kilimo. Kilimo inatusaidia katika kupanua nafasi za ajira katika taifa letu la Kenya, na kilimo pia inatusaidia kuondoa umaskini katika taifa letu la Kenya. Na ndio sababu tumetia mkazo mkubwa na tumeweka maanani sana mpango yetu ya kilimo na kusaidiana na wakulima ili tuongeze mapato ya wakulima, tuongeze nafasi ya ajira na tuongeze nafasi ya kupanua viwanda zetu kutumia kilimo na bidhaa zinazotoka katika kilimo. Let me also take this opportunity to say we are truly happy. Ni jambo ambalo alihusika ni na mambo ya hapa show, lakini nimepatiwa habari ya kwamba Kenya ikiungana na Uganda na Tanzania tumefaulu kuwa hosts wa AFCON in 2027. Nataka nipongeze wizara yetu ambayo inasimamia michezo na washikadau wote katika sekta hiyo kwamba ile mpango tumekuwa nayo ya kubadilisha mambo katika sekta ya mchezo sasa inaanza kufua dafu. Many people never believed that we had a chance of hosting AFCON in 2027 because of the state of our football and the state of our sports in general. But I am very proud today that Kenya, together with our partners in Uganda and Tanzania, jointly we have won the right to host AFCON in 2027, and we are very proud of this achievement. We will now mobilize every resource. We will mobilize every person and every sector to make sure that we deliver a world-class football event in 2027. We will make sure that whatever infrastructural facility that are required will be made available to make sure that we move Kenya to the next level in our sports industry. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Thank you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Nitamuomba ruhusa Mheshimiwa Rais kutulia kidogo kwenye kiti chake ili tuweze kujipanga kwa wale ambao
Ruto has launched the Nairobi Trade International Fair at the Jamhuri Park off Ngong Road. This is the latest, with over 300 local and international exhibitors showing their innovation at the trade fair. The president has also touched on a number of issues, especially revitalizing the agricultural sector, terming it as the missing link to ensure that the administration that he currently oversees achieves its development goals. Now, we do understand that President William Ruto, after that particular short ceremony of opening, he will be engaged in auctioning of some of the livestock, an exercise they started prior, I do understand, but they will continue. And we also do know that the itinerary will change tomorrow till Friday, where the Prime Cabinet Secretary, that is Musalia Mudavadi, will be leading that particular show on Thursday. And of course, the second in command in the country, Rigathi Gachagua, will be taking over the hill on Friday. Now, what the president has touched a little bit on before I hand you over to the normal programming is all about the fertilizer that the president, as well as his administration, has ensured it is accessible to the farmers to ensure food production in the country and enhancing food security. He has also challenged the county governments to seek recourse with the Ministry of Agriculture, led by Mithika Linturi, in venturing in the cotton industry, terming it as a white gold, and of course will ensure the administration achieve its goal in the agricultural sector. The president has also clearly stated that this will also be linked to the affordable housing projects that are ongoing in the country, putting an end to some of the land disagreements that we have been witnessing across the country. And of course, that will be an end to what our reporters will be filing later on. We do understand Regina Manyara as well as Trevor Ngendo are on the spot, on the scene, and of course, they'll duly inform us in our subsequent bulletins. As you can see, those are live images at the Jamhuri grounds, where the president has officially opened the Nairobi Trade Fair. But I want to return you back to your normal programming. I do understand the proceedings at the corridors of the Augusta House are ongoing, with the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Professor Njuguna Ndogo, attesting to what the ministry has achieved so far in his administration 1 year on. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. Good afternoon for now.
Thank you, Speaker.
Next, 294, Walter Wino. Member for Awendo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 294 of 2023. Could the Cabinet Secretary, number one, provide the status of South Nyanza Sugar Company's request for financial assistance in the form of a bailout from the government? Number two, expound on the details of the proposed commercialization/lease plan, including the management of Sony's nuclear land, and explain how the issue of ownership will be addressed. Also state the measures in place to protect the current employees from losing their livelihoods, and clarify on the guidelines in place to ensure a transparent and beneficial privatization process for the company, particularly for the farmers who should benefit in both the short and long term. Number three, provide the status of implementation of recommendations of task force report into the crisis in the Kenya sugar industry appointed by the Minister for Agriculture on 27th March 2023, as well as the report on the petition on inquiry into crisis facing the sugar industry in the country by the Committee of the National Assembly that as adopted on 20th June 2019 with regard to privatization of sugar companies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've provided very elaborate tables and answers from page 20 to this question. And let me say that, Honorable Speaker, between the period 2019 and 2023, the company received a bailout from the government through Agricultural Food Authority, AFA, aimed at addressing farmers' arrears and factory maintenance as detailed below in the table. That is the table 1 on page 20. Of table 1A, of table 1B. Table 1A is talking about disbursement in bunches. Table 1B is providing the dates of when this happened, and then I have the bailout factory maintenance presented in table 3. I would prefer that if there are any specific questions after this, I can follow up, because I've provided these tables to show the details. The supplementary question is the plans to privatize the state-owned sugar mills goes way back in 2015. And the Privatization Commission approved the sale of government stakes in the 5 sugar companies. That is South Nyanza Sugar Company, Nzoia Sugar Company, Chemiril Sugar Company, Muhoroni Sugar Company, and Miwani Sugar Company. The current status, following the cabinet meeting held in Sagana State Road on 8th August 2023, the President and his cabinet vacated the earlier decision to privatize the 5 sugar mills. I just wanted to make sure that I state that, because, Honorable Speaker, this House has debated the leasing arrangement, and they are familiar with the process and they are happy with the process. I just wanted to make sure that I refer to that. Finally, the report that has been put across, the implementation of the task force report 2019, is provided on page 23. I've provided some details. And what we are saying here, the response is that it's on course, spearheaded by the State Department of Crops at the Ministry of Agriculture. It is important to note that the progress has been slow because of the resistance from the stakeholders, which is necessitated by the abandonment of the privatization model and in favor of the leasing model. The National Treasury has continued to support the ministry, as reflected by the bailouts that have been shown on the farmers' arrears and factory maintenance. Let me refer to a meeting that was held in the Lake Region Economic Bloc Sugar Industry Conference held in Kakamega on the 8th and 9th of September in 2023, and the stakeholders made recommendations on the following areas, among others, as noted in the Task Force Report 2019. One of them is to make sure that there is a validation of the Task Force report. There is establishment of a sugar board, the sugar board to handle levies, not commodities fund, regional clusters, reinstatement of Sugar Act, need for sugar regulations, and waiving of debts. And I think this is the report that is being followed up by the current stage of leasing arrangements. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Walter.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm not very satisfied with the response. More so on the issue of payment of the arrears to farmers, considering that these arrears are dated back to 2019 when canes were supplied to some of those factories. I want the Minister to tell us when these farmers should be expecting to be paid their arrears. Are they to wait for the transaction of leasing these sugar factories to end so that they are paid, or the Treasury is going to commit into paying them their arrears before the transaction starts? Again, I would want to know
One at a time.
Okay, thank you, Speaker.
Donya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm seated here, and when the CS is giving answers, it's like every member is saying he has not...
Can you ask your question?
But even if you ask a question, Mr. Speaker,
then,
the answers are not clear to us.
Then yield the floor. Yield the floor. Carolo Mondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Could the Minister update the House on what steps the National Treasury has taken, being the custodian of all government assets, in respect of the recovery and preservation of the Miwani 10,000-acre land, in view of the Court of Appeal decision, when it was the last court of resort, that that land is public land? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me say that in terms of arrears to farmers, I may not provide answers to that because I'm not aware of the magnitude and how long it can take to get those funds. So in a sense, it's a question that can be followed up. The second thing is that custodian of national assets, that's the responsibility of the National Treasury. And that is why the government introduced the leasing model that is going to preserve the assets of these sugar factories. It means that it is the injection of new technologies and even capital.
Minister, the question is so simple.
Yeah.
The Court of Appeal said Miwani land belongs to the public.
Yes.
To which you are the custodian. Have you taken custody of that land? That is the question Carole has asked. So no theories.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think I will have to follow it up with specific actions that have been taken, but I just wanted to mention that the National Treasury is the custodian of national assets, and that will remain the same, and will take position in terms of the legal proceedings of that.
Are you in custody of Miwani land? 12,000 acres of public land declared so by the Court of Appeal. If you don't have a ready answer,
I don't have a ready answer to that. That is, Honorable Speaker, that I don't have a ready answer to that, but I just wanted to actually answer in a general way what is the specifics of the National
Treasury. To be fair to you, it was not a question framed earlier, but I direct you to write to Carolo Mondi and give him the answer.
I'll do that, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
We go to question by Gabriel Kagombe, 296. Gabriel Kagombe, question dropped. I thought I saw Gabriel Kagombe in the house. Question dropped. Last question by nominated member Dorothy Ikiara. Minister, once you finish that, I'll give 5 minutes to members who are agitated.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Question number 356 of 223. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons for delayed payment of pensions due to retired teachers who languish in abject poverty years later after spending all they had following up on their pensions? 2, could the Cabinet Secretary outline measures the government is putting in place to ensure timely, efficient, and effective payment of pensions to retired teachers. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Dorothy. Minister.
Let me get my response.
You found it?
No, I'm looking for my Honorable Speaker. I'm getting my response because it's a long response.
It's the last.
Yeah, I think I may have.
It's the last question on the list, and I encourage you not to go the long response because the questions are very straightforward.
Let me say that this matter is long and it is presented in a very detailed way in terms of what has happened in terms of court cases up to the Senate. And what has happened is that in 2011 and as late as 2021, the government decided to start paying the teachers. At present, slightly over 21,000 teachers have been paid, and the remaining one are still in the pipeline to be paid. We do recognize that this is a matter that has been protracted and has been in court for many years. And what has happened is that the payments were started out, and our detailed answer that showed even how the court cases have been resolved and the payments have been started out. So there are still remaining about 11,000 teachers, slightly over 11,000 teachers who have not been paid, and that is in the pipeline to be paid. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Dorothy?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am not satisfied with the response, Honorable Speaker, because the CS is answering on behalf of the teachers who retired, who are awarded the salary increment of 1997. Honorable Speaker, this is 27 years down the line, and he is talking about a balance of 11,000 and something teachers who have not yet received their benefits. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad to note that a majority of these teachers have died as they continue languishing in poverty, waiting for this payment, Honorable Speaker. And it is very sad, Honorable Speaker, when the CS stands in the floor of this House to say there is a balance of 11,000 yet waiting to be paid. He is not giving us the definite time when this 11,000 will be paid. Honorable Speaker, if the workers of this country will work for as long as it takes, diligently working for the government, and then they die without getting what is due to them, then, Honorable Speaker, this is something that I don't have any language that I can describe the suffering of these teachers. Honorable Speaker, let the CS give a commitment in this House today when these teachers are going to receive this payment. On top of that, Honorable Speaker, we don't even know. Let him also avail a list of all the teachers who have been paid since then, because this money might be going to ghost people. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Minister.
Now, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Those are the emotions of a former teacher. So
Is there? Thank you very much. Those emotions of a former teacher are very well understood. I'm 10 months into this job, and I stand very sympathetic to that position. I've heard even worse stories from the Senate committees. Let me give you the exact figures that I have here, just to show that this process is towards culmination. The National Treasury has since received a total of 23,467 revised claims. Revised means that they have been updated because we wanted to make sure that from 1997 they have not lost any income. From the TSC, out of which 22,017 have been processed and paid. The total payments amount to Kenya shillings 16 trillion 0.84 shillings. The remaining 1,470 revised claims are in the pipeline of payments. The list of the 22,017 claims has been shared in a soft copy using the the question time for the Parliament so that you can look at you can see what has happened. Let me say that it's a serious effort to make sure that this happens, but it's also dependent on the resource availability. We are solving a legacy issue, and I do believe the emotive part of it, and we'll do our best to make sure that it is done. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Mwalimu Milemba.
Honorable Speaker, something has come out. I don't know if the minister is really right to say that the payments to the teachers is 16 trillion. It sounds like either, I can't believe it can be in trillions. But number two, he is not speaking about the current teachers who also have not got their pensions, leave alone the 1997 ones, despite the fact that pensions is a fast charge on CFS. Can you tell us why the teachers' pensions are not being paid, despite the fact that it's a fast charge on CFS? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much. Let me correct the figure that I gave. The figure is 16.085 billion.
Not trillion.
Not trillion. I think the full stop was not seen. It was looking like a comma.
Okay.
I think I do agree with the urgency of the matter. I do agree we have had these issues even at the county level, Honorable Speaker, even at current level in terms of pension remittances. So we are resorting to the Exchequer to actually draw down on this. Otherwise, there are supposed to be statutory deductions, and we are reformulating our payment system so that those statutory deductions are automatic. We have a similar problem, even current problem, not even the legacy historical problem, but it's a problem, Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to rectify so that we are resorting now to the Exchequer because those deductions were not provided for. So in a sense, we've tried to do to work out round the clock on the basis of available resources and how much we can work with the documentation coming from TSC to finalize this.
Minister, what you probably need to do, pension is a contributory fund. You tax the employer at source, you match what you have taxed, and it goes into a special fund. So the emotional disposition by the Honorable Ikiara is justified, but the answer doesn't match that emotion. So what I will advise you is if you can prepare a comprehensive report on the delayed pension to teachers. When it's ready, send it to the majority leader. I'll give him an opportunity in 2 weeks to present it to the House. And then of you have agitations from your constituents who are teachers and suffering in the same manner, you can ride on Dorothy's question so that comprehensive council can come here in 2 weeks' time. The Honorable Kagombe has reappeared and said he stepped out to ease himself. So I had dropped your question, but I'll give you 2 minutes to prosecute it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The majority leader was trying to make sure that I don't ask this question, but then I will still present it. Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the National Youth Service is yet to receive the 2 billion shillings that was allocated in the just concluded financial year 2022-2023? And 2, state the time frame for the release of the said amounts to National Youth Service to enable the service to clear its pending bills. And number 3, indicate when the remaining balance will be availed to the National Youth Service to fully settle the pending bills.
Minister.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. And I think this matter, we have tried to struggle with it. And again, it's the whole issue of resources. So far, only out of the 5.4 billion, only 2 billion has been paid. but everything is waiting for reimbursement. It's actually scarcity of resources. And this is a matter that has been with us for some years. So in a sense, it's not refusal to pay, it's actually the scarcity of resources. We have found ourselves in the last 10 months or so having very serious constraints because of maturity of debts, and that is why we have scarcity of resources. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Kagombe. Are you satisfied?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not satisfied because...
Ask him a supplementary.
Because under the Public Finance Management Act, pending bills form the first charge in the subsequent year. And these bills have been there, and there is finances enough to do other things and to pay current bills and not to pay the pending bills. And you know, Mr. Speaker, this thing of pending bills is actually not pending bills. These are people's monies that have been held. This is government using people's resources. This is government actually literally stealing from the people, because you have accepted supplies from private Kenyans. They have gone to banks, taken loans, and you're taking this money and telling them that we have scarcity of resources. Money is a scarce resource. There is no one time that money is going to be ample to do everything. But if you incur an expenditure, please pay up. Don't pay for new expenses and you've not settled the old ones. So, Mr. Speaker, please, we need to get a proper response from the Cabinet Secretary, other than just say that there is scarcity of resources. That cannot be an excuse.
Minister, give a proper response.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, and I really get the hang of it. For over 20 years.
Kagombe probably represents traders.
For over 20 years, we have had so many committees on pending bills, and we have seen always the outcomes. And we are really very sympathetic about that. Right now, we are in the process of even forming another committee to put a stop to these pending bills by doing a final evaluation. For those that have been audited and have found to be payable, we are in the process of payment. But in a sense, this is a historical issue. It didn't start yesterday. So we are sympathetic of this, and I do believe they are people's incomes, and people have lost their assets because of that. So, Honorable Speaker, I will provide a full report even after we have done, even when we have covered the current state of payable bills. In this report, I focused only on those of NYS, and I've gone into several stages in terms of showing the details. What I cannot perhaps indicate is the actual payment time, but I'll follow up with that with details in terms of payment period. But we have done a lot of analysis in that, and we have covered the time frame and even the kind of resources that are left to be paid out. So it's something that I'm going to follow up, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Dawood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, did I hear the minister say he's going to make another committee pending to check the pending bills? Yes. And for the last 20 years they've been doing it, and he'll do another one, and then another one, then another one. So we're never going to come to an end of it. People will not be paid. I think that's what he said. He'll do another committee. So what happened to the last committee?
Yes, member for Manyata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I feel like the minister is not taking this issue of pending bill seriously as he should take it. Honorable Speaker, I expected with the question of Bwana Kagombe, Honorable Kagombe, the minister to give us a strategy, a clear strategy on how to deal with the issue of pending bills. But, Honorable Speaker, the answer was very unsatisfactory, and I believe that we deserve a better explanation on how the Treasury wants to deal with the issue of pending bills that has made Kenyans go bankrupt, others commit suicide, and others, Honorable Speaker, lose their whole livelihood. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much for that question. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for that question. I think the certainty of what is purely pending bills is very, very important. The last time we heard of it was during President Kibaki's regime. Out of the pending bills that were claimed to be pending bills, it was a small percentage that was actually certified and verified. This House has created rules and regulations in terms of what can be paid as pending bills and what is the process of verification. We have to follow that process. We have to be adherent to the law. But I'm also very sympathetic that we should not have any pending bills.
Minister, the majority leader who is a CPM might perhaps tell you that under the PFM Act, it's a criminal offense for anybody to procure goods or services without an attendant budget.
Yes.
And as minister, you should give strict directions to persons manning public institutions that they should not and cannot procure goods and services from Kenyans without an attendant budget, and therefore, if they did that, as you deal with the historical baggage, at least clean the now and the future, so that we don't have piling pending bills because of flouting the law.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm well guided, and that is the position we have taken so far. We are now trying to solve the legacy historical issues so that at the very end we can leave down that bad history that we have to contend with.
Yes. Now, will Minister, before I release you, you circulated a list from KRA that has caused several agitations. I'll give about 2-3 members an opportunity to just ask a question on it. Once we finish, we should be done in 5 minutes. I'll start with the Honorable Junet.
Mr. Speaker,
I'll give only 3, so don't raise your hands. I know who I'm giving.
Mr. Speaker, the document that has been presented today by the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Treasury on the issue of recruitment of KRA, Mr. Speaker, is a classical example of what is called the animal farm, Mr. Speaker. In the animal farm, they say all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than the other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is really shocking. And I don't think it was the intention of the Cabinet Secretary to table this document today in this House, Mr. Speaker. I don't think so. Because, Mr. Speaker, if he did so, then he came here to commit a serious criminal offense. Mr. Speaker, there are constituencies here, like Thika Town, that have gotten 50 people. 50. And then there are constituencies that have gotten only 1 person, like yours truly. Mr. Speaker, Suna East has only 1 person. And counties. Can you imagine a place like Kwale County has 4 constituencies and they have only 4 people? Mr. Speaker, if this is not something that is absurd, I don't know what absurdity means.
Ask the Minister the question. You are making a
Mr. Minister, Mr. Speaker, through you, I wanted to ask the Cabinet Secretary, what is the rationale he used? Because in his initial answer, he said he used the 2019 census. This is not the 2019 census. This must be a census that was conducted by Treasury maybe a month ago or 2 months on their own. Because we have the data of the 2019 census, Mr. Speaker. What rationale did he use to employ these people? Or does it mean that there are people who know how to do paramilitary work and others don't know? Or there are people who know how to collect taxes, others don't know? Or is it your second name? Or is it the shareholding principle that was used here to employ people in this country, Mr. Speaker? All that must be cleared. Even the
Mukose. Minister, just note, I'll take 3 or 4, then...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I represent constituency called Endebess. Endebess there is listed as 0. There is nothing. It's not appearing anywhere. So I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, in constituencies where nobody has been recruited, what plans does he have to compensate those constituencies?
Thank you. Wamboka, just one question.
Indeed, Honorable Speaker, it is very shameful that as a country, having traveled a long journey to try and make every Kenyan,
don't make a speech, ask a question.
to try and make every Kenyan feel comfortable, Honorable Speaker, why would be the minister giving these trainees military training, Honorable Speaker? Are they going to be fighting with the people they are going to collect tax from, Honorable Speaker? And two, Honorable Speaker, can we get the ethnicities? Can we get the ethnicities of these people so that in the spirit of the Constitution, we may speak to the regional balance of this country, Honorable Speaker? Thank you.
Member for Chuka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also looked at that list, and I'm still wondering, because we have the CS here, the CS is still in the house, Kenya has not stopped employing, so he needs to tell us, because I'm sure KRA will employ again. This is not the last time KRA is employing. Is he giving a commitment that the constituencies that have been short-charged in this employment will be looked at? Because like mine, I don't see anything that we got. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of teachers that retired in 1997, Wazil, you need, as you add on the issue of teachers, to remember that there were people who had been promoted to join the Ministry of Education as ministerial officials, and they are not included in that retirement package. It only talks of teachers, not ministerial officials. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Korere, that is the last one, Minister. You answer questions. The concerns are all the
Thank
same.
you, Speaker.
Yes.
Speaker, the question I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary. I listened carefully when he was presenting, and he said he used the census of 2019 in as far as regional distribution is concerned. I want to ask him a question, and we'll go back to the census of 2019. Does he want to tell us, according to the census of 2019, two communities constitute 70% of this country? Question number one. Question number two, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very clear in as far as regional affirmative action on marginalized groups and people living with disability and minorities. I want him to come clearly, because I can challenge this list. If he table the list of Laikipia North, for example, I can swear there is not even one Ndorobo, one Yaku, one person living with a disability. And finally, Mr. Speaker, going to train 70% of KRA trainees in Eldoret, paramilitary training. Are they training a tribal militia? Speaker, are they training these guys to come and box traders, strangle them, kick them, kill them, to squeeze taxes out of them? What exactly are they doing?
Minister, as Majority Leader.
Speaker, maybe because the minister, I don't know whether the Bureau of Statistics is under his ministry, but maybe he could also, and I'm not asking him to do it now, when he retreats back to his office. And I hear what the Honorable Sarah Korere has said, although with reservations, because I am certain even the military bases do not train militia. They train our military, whom we respect and honor. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me, because members do know that if you have something to say, just like I did, seek the Speaker's attention and say it. But Honorable Speaker, I was saying our military bases do not train militia. Two, I was asking the Minister, Honorable Speaker, if he can also get from the Bureau of Statistics in relation to what Honorable Sarah Korere has said and what the Honorable Junet said,
the number of people that are claimed to be from two communities to equally ascertain from the same census whether the said two communities constitute a higher number in terms of population, including those who are in morgues who have died, those who are in schools,
Let him finish.
and other institutions, Honorable Speaker, because it will also be unfair to profile communities on the basis of their numbers, Honorable Speaker. And where Honorable Junet comes from, his original home, and Honorable Farah, you know, there are people who are endeavoring to increase their numbers. When I have one wife, some of them have up to 4, with a minimum of 7 children. When I have only 2 children, where I come from, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Order. One thing at a time. Let Minister respond to those. Order. There'll still be another opportunity. Let him answer those questions first. 5 of them from Junet, Wamboka, Korere, Bukose, and the member for Chuka. Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The list I provided, Honorable Speaker, is for the number of those who attended and those who are interviewed and those who qualify. That is the consolidated list. What I don't have and I want to follow up with, because that's the information that I have now, I have the information of those who are interviewed and qualified. I provided information of those 2 that were disqualified. But what I need to provide as a follow-up is information of those who applied and the distribution. That is what I'm saying I'm going to follow up with. The information that is available here, is only for those who are interviewed and those who qualified. What I'm going to do is to follow up with information of those who actually applied. Then we'll see the whole picture. Then it is not everyone who applied that qualified. One of the things that we need to remember is that not everyone who got the information, so it's, in a sense, we need to see the whole information and see what that. Third, I actually provided information while the military training, and that justification because of the quality and the nature of the work. It requires physical fitness. Third, finally, I'm going to look at the census data and try to indicate the census data including the age cohort, because the census data is one component, but the age cohort is another component. So I'm going to follow up with this more comprehensive information that we can get information from.
DK. Give floor to DK. Hold your horses. I'll hold your horses.
Okay.
The Speaker knows what to do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. What I want to say on the issue of the revenue officers, I think we cannot punish the minister, and we don't know all the data that came out, because Kenyans need to apply. Listen, I am entitled to my opinion.
Order, honorable members.
I am entitled to my opinion. So what I'm saying, can you find out how many people applied in your area before castigating the speaker? Thank you.
Order, honorable DK. Sit down. Take your seat. Honorable DK, this is question time, and the minister has not requested any support in his ability to answer questions. So I gave you an opportunity, believing you had a question to ask. The member that is Were, ask a question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Minister is not very clear in answers as far as KRA issues are concerned. The advertisement was very clear. They were recruiting clerks. Even during interviews, Parliamentary came later. But the question is, are you aware that quite a number of Kenyans were knocked out in Eldoret and they were subjected to pregnancy test and also HIV test? Are you telling me those who are working in KRA, if you are pregnant and you are HIV positive, you are not supposed to work in KRA? How many did you turn back after successful interview in Nairobi?
Makali Mulu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this matter of recruitment in this country is not a new matter. And I think, Honorable Speaker, this is not specific to CS Treasury. This should be specific to all the PSs and the CSs. I think as a House, Honorable Speaker, we might do to dangers so that our Committee on National Cohesion and I don't know what the other, and equal opportunities, I think the committee is failing us. The matter we are discussing here should be a report of that committee which tells us the reasons as to why we are not allocating these positions in line with the population numbers for each region and for each, because it's very clear, Honorable Speaker, there should be a proportionate way of allocating these positions. Otherwise, to me, I think the simple answer, Honorable Speaker, which you are not getting, is that we have been told this government is a government of shares, and those who have no shares don't expect to get these positions. And unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, even those who are supposed to be having shares, we can see you are not getting. So can we know whether there are some... Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I'm advised by the clerk, and I believe the advice to be true, that this matter is actually before the Committee of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity. And if indeed it is, then a report will come before this House. And when the report comes, you will have an opportunity to debate and give direction as a House. That being the case, therefore, members, I will end here and go to the next minister. You can feel the outrage of the House. Advise institutions under your watch to adhere to the law and act within the law. On the same matter, on a different matter relating to this minister? Okay.
Mr. Speaker, you have indicated that we are vacating this and moving to the next order. And Mr. Speaker, that is where I seek your indulgence and guidance. We are going after this to the Committee of the whole House on two bills, one on the digital health bill and the other on social health insurance bill. In the social health insurance bill, Mr. Speaker, there is an issue that...
Hold your horses, Nicole. Minister and your team, you are released. Minister and your team, you are released.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Nicole, go on. Honorable Nicole.
So, Mr. Speaker, on the social health insurance bill, we have an issue, Mr. Speaker, that the amendments that has come, that are supposed to be from the committee amendments, are actually different. At least some that we have gone through are different from what the committee actually recommended. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, that's, in my view, is a very, very serious matter, and I seek your guidance in two ways. One, Mr. Speaker, is it proper that if a committee has made recommendations on what the amendments should be, then they change when they're in the order paper? Two, Mr. Speaker, I seek your indulgence that we actually withdraw this particular bill for the Committee of the Whole House to give the committee time to actually look through yes, Mr. Speaker, so I seek your indulgence in two ways. One, is it in order that the committee has made recommendations in terms of the amendments, and when they come in the order paper, they are different? And two, that you give this committee time by withdrawing this particular item of the order from the order paper, so that the committee can actually go through all the amendments that were supposed to have come from the committee, and just be sure that it's not just those that you have noted that are a problem, that all of it. And three, then agree as a committee that these are the committee amendments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek your guidance and indulgence on that.
You have actually jumped the gun. First, we have not reached Order 8, and you seem to be raising issues on Order 8. Secondly, when we reach Order 8, and we're in a committee of the whole, then the right process is to prosecute amendment by amendment, and whenever you find that there is something amiss, you raise it at that time. This matter came to the Speaker's attention by way of a letter signed by a few members of the committee. I received the letter. I directed the majority leader and the chairman of the committee to discuss the matter and prosecute it in the committee of the whole. I've also been told that the amendments that were not taken on board from the committee have since been adopted by one member. I was told that member is prosecuting those amendments as they came from the committee. That means all is not lost. What you need to do is, as you go to the committee of the whole, diligently prosecute each amendment as they come, and see what best you can do to bring a good law in the legislative process. But I received your letter and those who signed it, and I've acted on it in the manner I have said. Honorable members, will you be... Yes, Kajwang?
Mr. Speaker, I will never go against your ruling, because that is not possible from a ranking member such as me. But Mr. Speaker, you have solved the problem in one way. But I also had Honorable Nikal and myself to be requesting that now, not in terms of the whole House, but we could reorganize the order paper, because definitely Roman 1 is going to come before the Committee of the Whole House. But it is unlikely that Roman 2 will be prosecuted in the whole House. If possible, you could pronounce yourself on it, that this matter be taken back to committee to reconcile and harmonize even tomorrow, so that it can come in the afternoon and we can consider it in the Committee of the Whole House, so that some of us who have constitutional issues, because there's a lot of constitutional issues here as to whether committees can disregard what they have agreed properly in committee and bring before us an order paper which is different. And then there's also a procedural issue, whether the clerk can change what is in the order paper, what is in the committee, and print a different supplementary or order paper, which is in variance, totally in variance with the committee decision. These are issues which are fundamental, but we don't want to prosecute them now. Now we only ask that it is possible, Mr. Speaker, that you could rearrange the order paper and say that let us deal with Roman 1. And therefore, because I don't hear problems on Roman 1, and so that we can tackle it tomorrow without all these issues that we're having. Mr. Speaker, I beg.
Kajwang, as I discharge a quasi-judicial function here, nothing is before me to warrant me to do what you're asking. Like I said, we have not reached that order yet. You may have a legitimate point, but that point can only be prosecuted in the committee of the whole, because the next order is a committee of the whole, and it will be highly unprocedural for the Speaker sitting in plenary to direct matters going to the committee of the whole to be stayed or to be stepped down. That can only be done in the committee of the whole by whoever will be chairing the committee, on the understanding that there will be material sufficient to justify the request. Like I did say, I got a letter on a matter that Dr. Nyikal has very ably raised, and I dealt with it in the manner that I said I did. And I now invite all members to be upstanding. Oh, sorry, I have jumped the gun. Let's call the order first. Take your seats. Sorry, courtesy. Call the order.
Order number 8, Committee of the Whole House.
Now you can be upstanding, honorable members.
Let's wait. Let me call the meeting to order. Then you can have a point of order because we have not even begun. Okay. I now call the House to order. This is the Committee of the Whole House to consider the Digital Health Bill, National Assembly Bill number 57 of 2023. And also to consider the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023. But we shall start with the first one, the Digital Health Bill. What's your point of order, Honorable TJ?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Deputy Speaker. Madam Chair, the point is very simple. I'm sick, yes. The point is very simple. We have just come from the plenary and we made interventions, which the Speaker, in his wisdom, made a ruling, which is right, that those issues can be canvassed in the committee. And these are the issues which we want to bring to your attention and seek your guidance on just before we begin. And the point is simple, Madam Speaker. The point is simple. We request you to look at the order paper and reorder the order paper, just to make easy or convenience to some of us. Instead of waiting for Roman 1, some of us could be doing parliamentary assignments in this house elsewhere, so that we know that order Roman 2, it is unlikely that we may prosecute or finish or reach Roman 2, because there are issues that we think should be raised, and we want to raise them, both constitutional and procedural. So if Madam Speaker would be forthcoming and pronounce yourself that we are unlikely to reach Roman 2, then we can easily do our other parliamentary work as Roman 1 is being prosecuted, because there don't seem to be a problem with Roman 1, but there is some issues with Roman 2. I thank you.
No, I think let us just allow us. I think you're speculating that we may not get to Roman 2. Why don't you see how much progress we make in the next 30 minutes with Roman 1? So we are starting with Roman 1. Yes, that's what we always do in the House. That's what we always do in the House.
Because then you need to listen to us if then this is the case.
Honorable TJ Kajwang, I'll just rule on that. We shall proceed with the order paper as set out, and we shall start with the Digital Health Bill, Roman 1.
Clause 3.
What's your point of order, Honorable Ferdinand?
Madam Speaker, Chair, let's be serious. I took so much time sitting in this hall, going through the both motions, and it's only fair that both bills. It's only fair that DJ Kajwang and the honourable member that gave him the information specify what clauses have been changed, so that we don't have to waste so much time like we did last night. So I suggest that we actually get specific areas so that I can be able to deal with that. We spend so much time, Madam Speaker, and I do not want to take so much time repeating the same thing. I move.
Yeah. Honorable members, let us just begin with the Digital Health Bill as scheduled in the order paper, because in any case, both bills have got the same significance. Thank you. Let us proceed.
Clause 3.
I'm beginning to think this is a delaying tactic. What's your point of order, Honorable Jeanette, in a minute?
Chair, you see, both bills are under one order, order number 8. It's only Roman 1 and Roman 2. Why don't we address the fears of the honorable members? Then we can proceed together. If you let him raise the issues that he thinks that he needs to raise, then address them, then we move forward, Chair. That is a better orderly way than saying come later. They're already in one order. You can't separate them. They are twins. Cement twins, or they're called what? Siamese twins.
Honorable Jeanette, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. Yes, sir, it's a point of order, Leader of Majority. I hope you're not saying that we should reorder the paper.
No, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, I wanted to agree with you. Because to begin with, the person who has raised those issues, the Honorable TJ Kajwang, from all our records is not a member of the Health Committee. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, the chair of the committee has signed for the particular amendments that are in the order paper. And our standing orders are very clear that the chair of the committee is the one who signs for all reports and amendments that will appear on the order paper on behalf of a committee. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the amendments being spoken to on the Social Health Insurance Bill, there are similar amendments sponsored by members. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is only fair that we proceed and we desist from now what seems to be filibustering and wasting time, and we proceed as is listed on the order paper. Whatever other amendment Honorable TJ Kajwang wants to bring, even now you can file an amendment. Those that are already on the order paper are there. There are some that are similar, others are dissimilar. Honorable Speaker, I beg that we proceed.
Honorable TJ, I think you're now becoming out of order. You already made your case. I already made a ruling that we shall continue with the order paper as is, and it is going Roman 1 and then Roman 2. So we'll start with Roman 1. And I think, Honorable Junet, you've already made your point of order. Let us now begin. Okay, this is the last point of order. What's your point of order?
Point of order is this, Chair. Chair, I agree with what the majority is, with an amendment. You see, Chair, the chairman of the committee can sign an amendment on behalf of the committee. But that doesn't mean that the amendment that the committee members wish to carry will be dropped by the chairman. He doesn't have that executive authority. That's why they are called a committee. Number two, if you are saying we are going to address these other issues in Roman 2, then let's proceed to Roman 2. Okay. Watch it. Let's reach Roman 2. And then Roman 1, Sasa.
Let's proceed.
Clause 3.
I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. Chair, mover.
Chair, I propose that clause 3 of the bill be amended in paragraph H by inserting the words within and immediately after the words health facilities.
I now propose that the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I propose the question that clause 4 be part of the bill. Honorable Anthony Olwach is the mover of the amendment. He's not in the house. Okay, that amendment is dropped. I now put the question that clause 4 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I now propose the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. As there is no amendment, I now put the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
Again, I now propose the question that clause 6 be part of the bill. Anthony Olwach is not here. Dropped. I now put the question that clause 6 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 7.
I now propose that clause 7 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 7 be amended as per the order paper. This is just cleaning up because it's not an authority but it's an agency.
I now propose the question that clause 7 as amended be part of the bill. Yeah, the clause 7 as amended by the as proposed by the chair be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 7 be amended as proposed by the chairperson of the Health Committee. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? And Sergeant Adams, could you bring us an extra microphone so that we're not trying to switch on the mic on and off? I now put the question that clause 7 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
I now propose the question that clause 8 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 8 be amended as per the order paper. This is just in one, competitively deleting the words competitively and appearing in paragraph A, then deleting paragraph F, and then substituting therefore the following new paragraph, the 3 persons not being governors nominated by the Council of County Governors with knowledge and experience in matters of digital health, because governors, health is more represented in the counties. Most of health is in the counties, and therefore we want to have adequate representation by the counties.
I now propose the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Okay, I now put the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 8 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 9 and 10.
I now propose the question that clause 9 and 10 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 9 and 10 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 11.
Hold on. I now propose the question that clause 11 be part of the bill. Chair?
Madam Chair, I propose that clause 11 be amended as per the order paper. This is in terms of recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer, and we are asking that the Chief Executive Officer be recruited in an open, transparent, and competitive process. This just making it more cleaner, and in consultation with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, immediately after the words time to time, instead of saying time to, immediately after time to time in subclause 2.
Thank you. I now propose the question that clause 11 be amended as proposed. Put the question. I now put the question that clause 11 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 11 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 12.
It's an amendment. I now propose the question that clause 12 be amended, be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 12 be amended as per the order paper. In one, where we are just cleaning up instead of authority, what we are creating is an agency. And then we are also, instead of saying in terms of qualifications, we are raising the qualifications to a master's level. That's all.
I now propose the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 12 be amended, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 13.
I propose the question that clause 13 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 13 be amended as per the order paper. This is to make provision for the qualification and functions of a corporation secretary of the Digital Health Agency.
I propose the question that clause 13 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 13 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 13 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 14.
I propose the question that clause 14 be part of the bill. Chair? Oh, it's Anthony Olwatch. Is he back? You've been missing. Proceed.
Lodge, you have the mic. Proceed.
Oh, thank you. Madam Chair, I propose that clause 14 be amended as per the order paper. Madam Chair, the reasons for this is to make the wordings of this clause consistent with the provision of the Constitution. The role of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission under Article 234 of the Constitution is to provide advice on remuneration. So the word advice is to be used in substitution of the word consultation in order to make it consistent with the provisions of the Constitution. I so move.
I propose a question that clause 14 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Watch. Chair of committee. Chair, your comment on this.
I want him to prosecute again.
The Honorable Pukose. Ask the Honorable Meli to let you listen to Honorable Watch then. Honorable Watch, just for your...
I'm just trying to look for the amendment.
I can take it again?
Yes, please.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I did notice there was a change of guard, sorry. I propose that clause 14 of the bill be amended as per the order paper. The purpose of this is to substitute the word in consultation with the wordings upon the advice of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The purpose of this is merely to make it consistent with the provisions of Article 234 of the Constitution, which provides that the role of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is to advise.
Thank you.
So that there
Thank
is
you.
no confusion. Thank you.
The Honorable Chair.
I think it's a good amendment.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now therefore put the question that clause 14 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Watch. Will last minute that opinion say aye? Will last minute that opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Clause. I now put the question that clause 14 as amended be part of the bill. Clause 13, 14. Clause 14 as amended part of the bill. Will last minute that opinion say aye? Will last minute that opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Part 3.
I propose the question that part 3 heading be part of the bill. Honorable Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 15 be amended as per the order paper, and this is to provide for levies as source of money for the agency.
The Honorable Chair, you are renumbering part 3 first before you proceed to clause 15.
Part 3, that part 3 of the bill be renumbered as part 9 of the bill and be rearranged in accordance with the proper chronological sequence. This is just chronological sequence.
Thank you. I propose a question that part 3 be renumbered as proposed by the Chair. I put the question that part 3 be renumbered as proposed by the Chair. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I propose the question. I put the question that part 3 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
I propose the question that clause 15 part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 15 be amended as per the order paper, and this is to provide for levies as a source of money for the agency.
Thank you. I propose the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed by the Chair. I put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will another opinion say aye? Will another opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 15 as amended be part of the bill. Will another opinion say aye? Will another opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 16, 17, 18, and 19.
I propose the question that clauses 16, 17, 18, and 19 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 16, 17, 18, and 19 be part of the bill. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
I propose the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 20 be amended as per the order paper, and this is to provide additional checks and balances on investments to be done by the Digital Health Agency.
Thank you. I propose the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed by the Chair. I now put the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will another opinion say aye? Will another opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 20 as amended be part of the bill. Will another opinion say aye? Will another opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 21 and 22.
I propose the question that clauses 21 and 22 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 21 and 22 be part of the bill. Will many of that opinion say aye? Will as many of that opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
I propose the question that clause 23 be part of the bill. Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 23 be amended as per the order paper, and this is for quality purposes, which will ensure that only licensed health products and technologies are used in the country.
Thank you. I propose the question that clause 23 be amended as proposed by the Chair. I put the question that clause 23 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 23 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 24.
I propose the question that clause 24 is part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 24 is part of the bill. Will as many other opinion say aye? Will as many other opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 25.
I propose the question that clause 25 is part of the bill. Chair?
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 25 be amended as per the order paper. And this is to make provision for sensitive personal level health data that has been stripped of personal identifiable information.
Thank you. I propose the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many other opinions say aye? Will as many other opinions say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 25 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many other opinions say aye? Will as many other opinions say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
I propose the question that clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 be part of the bill. Will as many other opinions say aye? Will as many other opinions say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 31.
I propose the question that clause 31 be part of the bill. The Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, I propose that clause 31 be amended as per the order paper. And this is for alignment with the provisions of the Data Protection Act number 24 of 2019.
Thank you. I propose the question that clause 31 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 31 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many other opinions say aye? Will as many other opinions say nay? The ayes have it. The Honorable Watch, you have an amendment to this particular clause?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I propose that clause 31 be amended as per the order paper. The reason, Chair, is that the amendment as proposed seeks to ensure that the principle of confidentiality and integrity is upheld for alignment with the principles of data protection under the Data Protection Act 24 of 2019. So this is for purposes of alignment and consistencies with the principles of data protection.
Thank you. I propose a question that clause 31 be amended as proposed by the Honorable Watch. Chair.
Already in the amendment that we've already done on the chair,